Urine, blood, tears, and toilet sponge. What comes to your mind? Probably nothing. But for the Romans, it was not like that at all. They almost turned these things into rituals. When we say ancient Rome, legends and myths come alive in our minds. The homeland of gladiators. A place where life was extremely magnificent, where highly cultured people lived, and the most modern and free country of its age. But this culture has a completely different side beyond the myths and praises in movies and books. Daily life in ancient Rome was full of habits that would seem extremely disgusting to us today. Clothing and dental hygiene were very important, and especially the nobles paid great attention to this. They even used something you would never think of for it: human urine. Yes, you did not hear wrong. Ancient Romans washed their clothes with urine. Workers would fill a tub with clothes and urine, then one unlucky person would get into the tub and wash the clothes by crushing them with their feet. Even this seems insignificant when you consider that in some areas people used urine to clean their teeth. Some people gargled with urine and claimed that it made their teeth white. In ancient Rome, urine was such an important market that the state imposed a special tax to regulate urine sales. There were even people who made a living only by collecting urine. Most people collected their urine in bottles to sell or use it, while others walked door to door in Roman cities asking people for urine. Rome had public toilets and advanced sewage systems that no other society had for centuries. However, research shows that these facilities were almost never cleaned. According to archaeologists, these toilets were extremely unhealthy and full of infections and parasites. Romans carried special combs with them when they went to the toilet. These combs were designed to remove lice. The worst part was the cleaning system in the toilet: a sponge attached to a stick. This sponge was used by hundreds of people and was never washed. One single sponge for everyone. Rome's sewage systems were also quite dangerous for humans. Rodents living there would climb up while people were using the toilet. Even worse, methane gas would accumulate. The gas would reach such a level that it could ignite under people and cause explosions. For this reason, people were afraid to enter the toilets. Spells were written on the walls to keep dangerous creatures away. Medical practices in ancient Rome were also quite strange. People collected blood from gladiators who died in battle and sold it as medicine. They believed that gladiator blood cured diseases, and people drank it as a treatment. Some even ate the lungs of gladiators raw in order to be healed. Although this was not very common, drinking gladiator blood was so widespread that, even after gladiator fights were banned, people continued to drink the blood of executed prisoners. Some doctors wrote that this treatment truly worked. It was even documented by certain institutions that people who drank human blood saw their epileptic seizures disappear. In ancient Rome, it was impossible to find products such as soap and cream, and they were not considered very necessary. However, gladiators' body remains and sweat were sold to women as aphrodisiacs. This was generally used as face cream. Women rubbed this cream on their faces and believed that the dead skin and sweat of gladiators would make them irresistible to men. Romans were not ashamed of the male sexual organ like we are. On the contrary, they displayed it proudly. It was even common fashion to wear it around their necks. This was not just for looking good. In Rome, it symbolized power and authority. According to documents from the Roman period, these necklaces protected people from evil. Drawings of this organ were also placed on walls to protect travelers in dangerous areas, and they were drawn on sharp bends and bridges to bring good luck. Romans loved living at the extremes. They ate until they could no longer bear it, then vomited and continued eating. Some used special containers for this, while others did not bother at all, vomited on the floor, and continued from where they left off. They did not have bandages, so they had to invent other ways to treat their wounds. Romans treated their wounds with animal dung and healed themselves. They boiled ram manure, mixed it with vinegar, ground it into powder, and mixed it into their drinks. They used this as an energy drink, a drink that would truly give you wings. The food culture of ancient Romans was also quite disgusting. Among their favorite dishes were porridge made from pig womb and stuffed mice. Sometimes households used pots as toilets, and when they were full, they emptied them in the middle of the street. Ancient Romans loved erotic and romantic poems and terrible jokes. They used a lot of swearing and slang in their poems. This was completely normal for them. As you can see, the reality is very different from what is told in movies and books. In the next video, you will be inside this story. Don't miss it, like and subscribe.